O is by far the most frequent letter in Russian, but does that make it the most frequently pronounced sound? No. In most situations, O is not pronounced in its pure form. In this video, I'll introduce you to the number one rule of Russian pronunciation, Akanye, basically aing, and show you how to apply it correctly in your speech. On paper, the rule seems as simple as borscht. Pronounce unstressed or as a. In practice, though, the nuances run deeper than they first appear, but we'll still nail them down quickly before your cup of tea cools. Although in Russian, spelling and pronunciation get along much better than in English, the match is not perfect. That's why in Russian we have pronunciation rules to handle common situations where spelling doesn't match actual pronunciation. The first and most important rule is this. The sound O is pronounced only when stressed. If unstressed, O is never pronounced as O. Instead, it shifts into A. Because this rule applies only to unstressed vowels, which are always short/reduced, we refer to A here as the short A sound like in son or fun, rather than the long A in father. Son is the clearest example since the letter O in that word is pronounced as A. This pronunciation rule represents a key feature of the Russian language known as Akanye, literally aing, a phenomenon that emerged in certain Russian dialects as early as in the 13th, 14th centuries, when speakers began to naturally relax the unstressed O into the more economical A sound. This A sound requires no lip rounding, making it easier to produce. The pattern later became fixed in the Moscow dialect by the 16th century, and by the early 20th century, Akanye had become a standard feature of Russian. Today, pronouncing an unstressed O as A is the norm in modern Russian. So if you pronounce an unstressed O as O, it's like planting potatoes in October. Technically possible, but clearly doomed. Let's read the following words pronouncing the red unstressed letter O as a short A. Listen, or if you are eager, repeat after me. Она, оно, гора, окно, томат, вода, когда, комок, хотеть, собака, молоко, хорошо, комета. So, we've learned the main rule of Russian pronunciation. Unstressed O is pronounced like a short A. And if you've never followed it before, your Russian speech already sounds better. Still, what you've just learned is great for beginners, but it doesn't fully capture how this rule works in actual Russian. This beginner-friendly table illustrates vowel pronunciation in Russian. Essentially, in a given word, only one stressed vowel is fully pronounced, while all other unstressed vowels undergo reduction, meaning they are pronounced briefly and consequently with less clarity. In broad strokes, Russian vowel pronunciation works like this. A stressed vowel in a word is pronounced in full, clear, and strong. A vowel in the syllable immediately preceding the stressed one is pronounced shorter. We call this first-degree reduction. Vowels in other unstressed positions are shortened even further and are either replaced by a brief filler sound known as a schwa or by a sound close to it. We call this second-degree reduction. The term schwa refers to a neutral, unclear, and very brief vowel sound that appears at the beginning of words like about or away, in the middle of words like family or cinnamon, or at the end of words like zebra, banana, soda, tuna. The schwa is the most common vowel sound in English. In Russian, it is also extremely common due to the high number of unstressed vowels scattered throughout speech. And mastering the number one pronunciation rule we are currently discussing also requires learning to use the schwa sound in Russian speech. As we have established, in unstressed positions, the letter O is pronounced exactly like an unstressed A. But if we look at how unstressed A behaves in Russian pronunciation, in many situations it is actually pronounced not like a short A, as in run or sun, but as a schwa. This very short, unclear filler sound whose quality barely matters because it's so brief and indistinct. Let's discuss several Russian words to cement the just explained pattern of Russian vowel pronunciation in speech. First, молоко, milk. In молоко, the third O is stressed and thus fully pronounced молоко. The second O, being the closest pre-stressed vowel, is pronounced shorter according to the first degree reduction, with a sound similar to that in quickly spoken fun or sun. Молоко. The first O undergoes second degree reduction, functioning as an indistinct and very short filler vowel sound known as a schwa, like in banana. Молоко. Second, около, near. In около, the first O is stressed and thus fully pronounced около. The other instances of O being located after a stressed vowel undergo second-degree reduction, functioning as an indistinct and very short filler vowel sound known as a schwa, около. Third, окно, window. In окно, the final O is stressed and fully pronounced as it is in the alphabet, окно. The first O, being the closest pre-stressed vowel, is pronounced briefly according to first-degree reduction, with a sound similar to that in quickly spoken fun or sun we just discussed. окно. So as you can see, the rule that says unstressed O is always pronounced as A should not be taken too literally, since Russian unstressed vowels come in 2 degrees of reduction. This means unstressed O can be pronounced like A in sun or as a schwa in about or banana. To know when to pronounce one variant of a vowel or the other, the general pattern is as follows. The closest vowel preceding the stressed one is pronounced shorter, first-degree reduction, while vowels in other unstressed positions are shortened even further into a schwa, second-degree reduction. Still, you can use a simplified rule of thumb that works fine in practice, especially if your speech is on the slower side. Look at the stress mark and pronounce unstressed O as a short A, like in sun, before the stress, and as a schwa after the stress. This simplification works so well because in real life, the schwa is generally more required after the stressed syllable and less required before it. Much like firewood in Siberia is much needed in January and less needed in March. If you are more advanced and speaking faster, you can refine the rule further, make the closest pre-stressed vowel a short A, like in fun, and let the rest collapse into schwa. That's the natural rhythm of Russian fast speech. Thanks for watching. Пока!